famous KROQ.
KROQ on a Wednesday morning, impactful day, and that song that we just enjoyed together from the Smashing Pumpkins may have never actually come out if it was not for the career of an Ozzy Osbourne, but I can't say that. Let's ask Billy Corgan himself, lead man, front man, of course, not only friend of Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, but of course of KROQ. And now when we were talking about who we could possibly talk to just shed some light on the impact that Ozzy's had on so many, we said we got to get Billy, and Billy was nice enough to accept our request, and here he is, and it's good to see you again, the great Billy Corgan on KROQ.
Thank you. It's nice to see you. I'm sorry it's on a sad occasion, but I think the beautiful thing is you know, there's been such an incredible outpouring of tributes. I've been sitting on social media, and literally everybody I follow, I mean, I don't care if it's a clothing company, I don't care if it's a pedal maker, everybody's paying tribute to Ozzy today. I think it's so amazing that he had this connection with people, and you see it. And I just went through it, of course, a few weeks ago in London or Birmingham with the concert. But now to see this, it's like even more overwhelming.
Do you remember, did you get to chat with Ozzy at the final show, and what was the interaction like, and how did he seem?
You know, I kind of let him be because there were so many people wanting to talk to him, and there were people he hadn't seen for years. And Sharon and I had been discussing ever since Sharon appeared in my podcast that I was going to go over to their house in LA and interview Ozzy. So in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to have that conversation when I see him after this. I'd like to share one special moment, though. I don't want to say who the other person is. It's somebody from a very famous alternative band. But when Black Sabbath sound-checked 2 nights before the actual concert, there was literally nobody in the arena, the stadium, except security, and me and this person from another famous alternative band. And we were literally watching Black Sabbath soundcheck with Ozzy, you know, for the last time. And Ozzy saw us down there and did the famous Ozzy, you know, sitting in his chair, but he did the famous Ozzy peace sign to both of us down and smiled. And that's the moment I'll always hold on to, because it was in that private moment where it was just us and the band, basically. And both me and the other person, this is why I don't want to say who the person is, we both started crying, because we couldn't believe this magical dream of this band in our lives was coming to an end.
Billy, you first connected with Black Sabbath, I believe, when you were 8. Is that right?
Yeah, my uncle was a drummer, and he had a very progressive kind of rock collection, and my grandmother, for some reason, let me play his records. And the first record in the stack was Master of Reality. Never heard of the band, had no idea. And the first song I ever heard by them was Sweet Leaf. And it had such an impact on me. The sound of his voice, I couldn't understand what was happening. It was like Quicksilver through me. And then, of course, Tony's guitar. And I'm not saying anything if you're a Sabbath fan that sounds new, but when you're 8 years old and you have no context for that, it was so shocking. And that the feeling of them has never left me. And it's had such a huge influence on my music and my approach to music. So to be with them on that day was like a magical dream, and it's been such a high. I think everybody involved, Metallica, Tom Morello, I mean, everybody, we've been talking, and it was such an amazing event to be part of. It was the greatest musical event I think I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
As a sort of a one-day thing. It was so incredible. Everybody was on their best behavior. Everyone was playing their hearts out because there's so much love for Ozzy in the band. And I saw it. I mean, I saw it behind the scenes. I saw it when the cameras were on. And so to be coming off that high and then have somebody run in a room last night and say, oh, my God, Ozzy just died. It was like, wait, the movie's not supposed to end like this, you know?
Yeah, so was it pretty shocking, even though, you know, obviously he wasn't in the best health for a long period of time. And, you know, the news kind of broke yesterday. It seemed like a long time coming for some people, but then it also still seemed like such a huge shock.
Well, you know, I was around him, and obviously people were paying a lot of attention to the shape that he was in. He was obviously not at 100%, but like if anybody's seen those group photos where we were all, it's like me and Metallica and, you know, so many of the artists playing, we were in this group photo. And the photographer is Ross Halfin, very famous rock photographer. And we've all shot with Ross for years, and he's been shooting Ozzy for 45 years. And Ozzy was cussing him out just like you would hear in an episode of the Osbourne. So I saw nothing in his spirit that told me that he was anywhere near the end of his life. And, talking about it with the band, we were almost thinking that maybe this concert was the thing that kept him going. Maybe the idea that there was this rainbow at the end of this particular road, maybe that kept his spirits up. And I'm not saying once it was over, he was over. I'm just saying is maybe the concert actually elongated his life because he had something to fight for, something to strive for. And to see how much that show and those artists meant to him, I mean, we all watch it through our phone these days, but I was there. I was watching, everybody turn into a little kid again, because for a hard rock, and you got Tool there, you got Morello there. For bands like us, Sabbath has always been an alternative band. We never saw them as just a metal band. So the greatest rock stars in the world, we were all there for one reason. And there's so much love for Ozzy when you see it in person. It was so humbling to be a part of that.
Billy Corgan is on with us right now, Smashing Pumpkins. You can watch us. We're live on YouTube, of course, doing the show on KROQ as well. And even the text line saying Ozzy literally threw and attended his own funeral. That is something only a true legend can do. But I don't know if, look, to be there and to be in that room, and I wonder, because he's a guy that you've always admired, was he a guy that you ever went to at any point in your career for advice, like when Smashing Pumpkins was going through stuff or when you were going through stuff? Because he had experienced pretty much everything. Were you at that point with him?
No, it was interesting because my relationship was always more with Sharon, because Sharon at one point managed us, and then we had a big falling out, and then we made up not too long thereafter, and we've been, on good terms for many, many years. And it was when Sharon had filmed my podcast, I guess 8-9 months ago, she said, we're going to do this last concert, and I would really like you to be there. I know it would mean a lot to Ozzy. So I've always kind of interacted with Ozzy through Sharon. So it really would be Sharon I would go to advice for. And I want to say something really quickly, and obviously this is about Ozzy. And I think you see it also with this last show. There would be no Ozzy, the icon, without Sharon. Sharon was his rock. Sharon was his motivation. Sharon was the woman he loved with all his heart. And I as much as I've been thinking about Ozzy and as much as I've been thinking about the band, having just been with everybody, I'm also thinking a lot about the family and of Sharon, because he was the center of their universe. And so please put your prayers out for the family as well, because they're going to need this kind of support. He was a huge figure.
And this conversation that Billy keeps talking about, by the way, his podcast, The Magnificent Others, you could see this I watched the whole chat with you and Sharon yesterday. It's truly, really remarkable, all of the things that you cover in that. And it did feel so two friends for a long time having a conversation about universal love for this man, Ozzy Osbourne. And I question this, and I think the answer is pretty obvious, but like, of all of the KROQ artists, yourself included, how many of these artists wouldn't even be here today if it was not for kind of the impact that Ozzy, Black Sabbath had on just everything?
See, that's the funny thing, you get these kind of categories thrown around, but you can draw direct lineages between Sabbath and Rage Against the Machine, Tool, Pumpkins, Nirvana, Alice in Chains. Half of the great artists that KROQ have played through the years were directly descendant from Black Sabbath's music and philosophy. So I don't think the influence there can be understated. This is a huge moment for all of us, because I don't think, it's easy to say, oh, you'll never see the likes of him again. You will definitely never see another Ozzy. He's a one of a kind personality. He was a one of a kind voice. And what was so amazing, and you hear it again and again in the last few hours, and you'll hear it for the next few weeks, he was a humble man. To be that guy and not somehow be affected by it is I think probably the most remarkable part of all. We've all had our rock star weirdnesses, but somehow he stayed himself through the whole thing. There's an interview just went up today with Tony Iommi, I think, talking to the BBC, and he said he was always the same. Yeah. Since we were in school together, and he's the same guy at the end. To have lived what he lived and still come out the other side, that guy, I think that's maybe the greatest tribute. And a family man, he loved his kids and his grandkids. I saw it. It's very hard to, I guess, straddle the worlds between having some intimate contact with the family and knowing what they're going through, and at the same time be a fan and have been part of the show. And the whirlwind of emotions over the last 24 hours are almost hard to categorize, and I put feelings into words for a living,
Yeah.
If there are people going on a deep dive today with Ozzy's music, Black Sabbath, etc., what's one song that they have to have on their playlist today?
See, that's tough because, Ozzy lived many musical lives depending on who was in the band, So if you're a Sabbath fan, I think you would want to listen to Changes, which Youngblood did such an amazing cover of. I mean, he just destroyed it at the gig. But Ozzy's the king of it, and so I think the emotion of that song. And then I think Mama, I'm Coming Home from his solo career, because that shows the heart of the man.
Mm.
Billy, we can't thank you enough for spending some time with us this morning. Your thoughts, obviously, much more. You were there. You got to be a part of that final show. And some people are wondering if there's any talk about you and those guys you played with on stage.
Doing more?
Maybe keeping the legacy alive by doing some more stuff potentially down the line. Any conversation about that, or way too soon?
You know what? There hasn't been, but I said something after the show, and I didn't say it to Sharon, but I said it to someone in Sharon's world. I almost think there should be an annual Ozzy concert where we come together and we just do a charitable event.
Yeah, he raised so much money. That final show between Parkinson's, Children's Hospital, Acorn. I mean, he's even on the way out did so much good, and that's what I think everyone thinks of the guy that ate the bat that was rock and roll and a badass. But the amount of good he did was wild.
I think I would. Do you have a second for me to sort of talk about this? I don't want to.
We have all the time in the world,
as long as you
Billy.
want to give us, Billy.
Here's what I would say. When you have the biggest artists in the world coming to play in tribute to somebody, and they're playing truncated sets, Tool played 20 minutes, GNR played for 35 minutes. I mean, headlining bands are not used to playing small sets. Everybody worked together to make a one-of-a-kind monumental event. And what an amazing way to continue to pay tribute. If we could get together every year in Birmingham, or Sharon could pick a site, and the legacy of that togetherness would continue. I can't imagine the list of artists that wouldn't want to be involved. And let me say one other thing, and this is a bit selfish, but it sort of goes with this idea. When you see the power of rock music, and I'm obviously including alternative here, you had guys in their 20s and guys in their 70s working together in the same direction. Pop could never, ever compete with what we saw that day.
Yeah.
Pop is massive, and we get it, and we know it, and everybody runs around and talks about it because it's the gossip. But rock cannot be beat. And a guy like Ozzy showed us the way. Somehow his magical life brought us all together. I mean, Jakey Lee was there, who had been, estranged from his world for 30 years. I mean, there was so much peacemaking going on. So I love the idea that maybe in Ozzy's memory and in tribute, we could have a once-a-year event where we know we're going to go in and raise hundreds of millions of dollars and show the whole world what rock can do when we're all pointed in the same direction. Just one day a year.
I'm sure that would be amazing.
Billy Corgan.
He would love it.
We love you. Thank you for joining us again on KROQ, and we appreciate it. Let's get on some Ozzy right now, which we don't get to do as often as we should. The great Billy Corgan. Thanks so much. Welcome to our OnlyFans. This has not been as profitable as we thought, because apparently the people that are on actual OnlyFans are better looking than we look like, and they also are better speakers than we are.
I tried to do something stupid. Hold on.
This is why we're making no money on OnlyFans. Hold on.
Hi, welcome to our only. Ow.
God damn. Well, that's why we're here on YouTube, because we don't have what it takes to be on OnlyFans. But if enough people follow this page, you better believe we'll get naked and shove stuff into each other's holes.
Yeah, and if you don't subscribe, we'll probably say something stupid to get canceled anyway.
So either way, all roads lead to OnlyFans eventually. We'll see you there. In the meantime, thanks for checking out this video. You can find our show on KROQ, on the radio, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search Klein Alley Show.
Honk honk.